So Conor McGregor has avoided a jail sentence by the skin of his teeth, I think it's fair to say. He was before the courts in connection with a driving incident. What happened today?
So yeah, Conor McGregor appeared before Blanchardstown District Court earlier today. It was in relation to a road offence from March 2022. So he was basically charged with careless driving and dangerous driving, and he pleaded guilty to both. He also had other charges in relation to uninsured and unlicensed driving struck out just because he managed to produce documentation and they were in order. But in relation to the dangerous driving, there was basically a lot of evidence heard about.
And he got a 5-month suspended sentence, was it?
Exactly. Yeah, he got a 5-month suspended sentence and he was fined, and he was banned from driving for 2 years. Basically, the judge said he was seriously considering jailing him for the gravity of the offence. He was basically observed by a Garda on the M50 N4 interchange in just beside Lucan there, driving at an excess speed. He was driving a convertible car. Obviously, the guard didn't know who he was at the time.
It's a classic sort of, if there's any celebrity who was likely to get caught in something like this, it was Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
So the judge described it as appalling, and no doubt it is, but it's also, it's an absolutely typical Conor McGregor incident, really, because he's speeding along in a convertible red car, as far as I remember, and there's a video of it at the time. There's a couple of guys in another car kind of waving at him. Yeah. And he sort of shows off and undertakes, goes into the lane. But he gets caught by the police.
Yeah, because he basically drove in a bus lane. He also jumped a red light and nearly collided with another vehicle, but this is all in one movement. So the guard spotted this vehicle, followed them. He said that the guard said he was driving at 160 miles per hour. They obviously didn't have or kilometers per hour, didn't obviously have McGregor's speed, but if that's what the guard was driving at, you can imagine what McGregor was driving at. And he said he wouldn't stop. He basically ended up on the M50 in South Dublin. He was originally in Kildare, and eventually he pulled over. He was asked to get out of the car 6 or 7 times. The first time he said, "Are you taking the piss?" to the guard when he was asked to get out of the car. And then he continued to ask him to get out of the car, and he basically replied that he was waiting for his security to speed up to catch up with him, that he wouldn't get out of the car until they arrived. So obviously this went on for several minutes.
Obviously he felt, well, like, I'm Conor McGregor, and if somebody waves at me as I'm driving along on the motorway, I'm gonna put on a bit of a show for him. And the guards, like, he seems to imply the guards should at least suck that up and maybe even wave along. I suppose we've had police in the north waving Armagh flags, so maybe he feels...
Yeah, well, he obviously thinks he's a deserving specialist treatment, but that's obviously not the case when you're in court, and the judge was very clear with him, that he was lucky to avoid a jail sentence. But when you say that, like, someone was waving on, the guard had to activate the blue lights and the sirens on his patrol car, so there was no doubt about who was behind him. He just doesn't care. I think he just thinks he's above the law. And he emerged from a bus lane, went into the fast lane and went through a red light, all in one go. So, he was obviously trying to get somewhere fast.
But I suppose, like a lot of these things with Conor McGregor, there's a bravado at that moment. There's a bravado with the guys in the car who are waving at him. Then there's a bravado with the guards. Yeah. But unfortunately for people like Mr. McGregor, when you get to court, it's a different experience when you're standing in front of the judge. Yeah. Because a good bit of the bravado was quite a bit long gone, I suppose it's fair to say, when he did get there. The judge gave him a dressing down, and McGregor made a kind of a humbling apology.
Yeah, he did. His solicitor basically said he was acutely aware of the impact his behaviour had on others, because the judge, David McHugh, pointed out that he was putting other people's lives at risk. Obviously, this is one of the busiest roads in Ireland, and to drive at that speed in a bus lane and to undertake vehicles as well is obviously incredibly dangerous. So he said he was extremely aware of the impact. He was really sorry. He did turn up in the usual Conor McGregor style in a 3-piece check suit, but he did seem somber in court. The judge basically had said that, he was considering a jail sentence because Conor McGregor has 20 previous convictions, a lot of road traffic offences as well. But the defence solicitor basically pleaded not to jail him, saying that, he was sorry. He employs lots of people in the community, has lots of businesses. His dad is ill as well. That was said in court. So the judge ultimately decided to give him a suspended sentence. But that is quite a serious sentence as well, because, I don't know if not everybody might not be aware, but it's still a prison sentence. It just basically means that it's, suspended for a period of time, that 5 months. And if he was to be in trouble again, it can be activated. So, it's not by any means a get out of jail free card, but he's obviously not in jail, but it's still a serious.
It's a get out of jail not free card.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So no, it was suspended for 2 years. So if he has any serious brushes with the law within those 2 years, he would automatically, in theory at least, be sent to jail. He wouldn't have to even go to court necessarily, so whether it works out like that or not is another matter.
Yeah.
And the judge described his sort of behaviour as persistent, prolonged and deliberate. And so it is, you're right, it is a prison sentence. And I suppose for Conor McGregor, it's not the first time, as you said. It's 20 previous convictions. So he's a funny place in Irish life, because even there you're hearing he's describing his father being ill. And we, of course, know that because everything about Conor McGregor's life is very public. Even his father, who's recovering from a heart condition, even that was a very public event.
Yeah.
I mean, and not least because his father also, put it up on social media as absolutely he's entitled to do. But he's just one of these people that we know everything about his life at all moments, and even all about his family's life.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time Conor McGregor has walked into court in a suit. I suppose one of the most famous ones would be the event in New York, where he was lucky to dodge a prison sentence.
Yeah, where he attacked a bus. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's back in 2018. I suppose that was his very first kind of brush with the law. I think at that point we see 20 convictions, and most of them are for road traffic offences. Yeah. So I think he had been before for speeding offences.
Yes.
So they wouldn't have been.
No, they were fines, I think.
Yeah.
And I think they were disposed of there wasn't anything serious repercussions on those ones.
No,
I think even then there was a bit of a spectacle from what I remember of, lots of media scrub, and he turned up speedy into court and, showing off and all that kind of thing. Whereas he was clasping his hands in court today, and it was a little bit more somber. It's definitely more serious, but... Yeah,
because he exactly. So the 2017 ones, I think he was doing his kind of... His walk. I don't know. There is a term for that walk where he sort of shakes his arms.
Is there?
There is, Eimear, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But, so he strutted into court anyway, let's put it that way. But there is a specific term for it. I think it's even called the McGregor walk.
Is it? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't impress you now.
No, I don't think so. I can just imagine him doing a gorilla walk or something like that.
Yes. So but the one in the Barclays Centre in New York, that was kind of more serious in that he was arrested, and no Irish person wants to end up in jail in the US because you just don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. But again, he attacked the bus. It was part of one of the sort of feud he had with one of the UFC fighters. And at that point, he was initially charged with assault and other offences, and it kind of got dropped.
Yeah.
But he did have to do 5 days community service. And that, again, he could have ended him up in prison. But it started kind of a run of other sort of court appearances that were some far more serious than others.
He has conviction for assault.
Yeah, so that was in 2019. That was in a pub in Crumlin.
Yes, in the Marble Arch pub in Drimna, wasn't it?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, where he was in the pub, and he had his, I think it was new enough at the time, the proper 12 whiskey, and the story was that he was offering glasses of the whiskey to patrons in the pub, and one man, an elderly man, basically said, "I don't want that, it's shite," which from people that have drank it, that I believe, and people have different opinions about it, but anyway, he refused it, and Conor McGregor then struck him, and I think it was a Section 2 assault.
Yeah.
But he was found guilty of it. He was in a district court with it. So that's obviously...
Yeah, that was a proper conviction. Yeah. I mean, a Section 2 assault would be kind of not serious enough to go before a circuit court, but it'd be dealt with at a district court level. I mean, the guy got punched, did object to being called elderly when he said
as soon as I apologise, as soon as I said that, I thought, oh God, maybe he's not.
No, because I think he did do an interview. I can't remember what paper it was. It was a good interview, but I think it was the Mirror, but he said, people keep calling me elderly, but I'm only in my 50s.
I apologise to him. I apologise to him.
So, I mean, that was kind of, that was something that I think it kind of shocked people, because there was CCTV and there was images of it, and it was so sort of unprovoked and thuggish, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was. And there's just no excuse. It's somebody who thinks, like, why wouldn't this person want to drink my whiskey? Because, it's the same as somebody strolling into court thinking that, they're going to get away with driving on a motorway at that speed, and, that a judge isn't going to give them a dressing down. It's that kind of behaviour, I suppose. And that's probably why, I'm not trying to speak for anybody, but you can imagine why the man maybe didn't want to drink it, because it's, why should he if that's not something he wants to do? Whereas it's that kind of thuggish behaviour where, he obviously wants people to do what he wants them to do.
And then after that, then there was other brushes with the law, let's put it that way. I mean, I think one of the most well-known ones was an incident in Corsica where he was arrested, and ultimately he was absolutely vindicated in that case. He was, the charges were dropped. At the time, his legal representatives were very strong that he had done nothing wrong. It was an incident in a bar, and that was ultimately borne out. And so you can see these things are ongoing with McGregor. But then the other side of it is that as these things are ongoing, and sometimes even one incident like this can sink a person's career and reputation. But in that time, all throughout these incidents, McGregor has also had massive success in a business sense and in a public sense. So has it not damaged him?
I don't think so. I think there's an opinion of him among a lot of people in Ireland, but I don't know how known that opinion is across the world. And I do think he has a different kind of persona to, he's obviously hugely popular from what he's done in UFC, and he's people very well known in America. And it was actually, I was thinking when you mentioned earlier about how he puts out most of his life on Instagram, and that's how he knew his dad was sick. I don't know if he puts the dark side on Instagram, and he definitely doesn't. He's never, put up about his court appearances. He might put up about, scraps or verbal disagreements he's having with people on social media. But I don't know if we've ever really seen him put up his hands and say, yeah, I did assault a guy in a pub, I'm sorry, or, I shouldn't be driving at this speed. So I do think there's a side of him we don't see. And obviously there's lots of stories circulating in Ireland as well, but that maybe they're not aware of in America. But I definitely don't think that that side of him is as well known to other people. And I think people think he's someone that we're proud of in Ireland, but I personally think he's quite embarrassing for the country. So I don't know if that is known. I think, he's obviously known as a very a boisterous character and somebody that will say what he wants to say, and maybe that kind of, he has a bit of, I think he obviously has, notoriety for that you might say something stupid, but I think some people almost see that as an endearing quality.
Well, I think that is the ultimate truth. I think the Conor McGregor is like a few people in the world, few very famous people that in fact his misdeeds are as important to his reputation and to his persona as his good deeds. And of course, he has been a really great fighter. He's been a world champion, and his business success is really, really immense. You can't take that away from him. But I don't think if he had just been a great businessman and a great fighter, he'd be in any way as famous as he is now.
No, and you're probably right. But I suppose, and obviously, speeding of fines, and going on a rampage and attacking a bus. And, you know, there is obviously, he's in that arena where, you know, you have these big characters, and he's in a sport maybe where there's other characters that have other
checkered
past, you know, so exactly. So yeah, so it's not, and like you see that in boxing as well, that there's certain characters who have been in trouble with the law or who have had bad stories written about them, and that doesn't damage their character because maybe people think that's part and parcel of that. So I do accept that, but I also think that, you know, this is a man who has assaulted a guy in a pub, who, you know, has now a serious conviction for dangerous driving. There's lots of other things that we probably don't need to go into, but, you know, I do think that these aren't, you know, things that you can just brush off and say, oh, that's just him. That's just the way these really famous sports people might act on occasion. I think that, you know, like he is doing like damage when people see these stories. They associate him. He's probably arguably the most famous Irish person in the world,
I think he is absolutely the most famous.
Yeah, and like, you know, he has a massive following. He's young people looking up to him, and like these are the kind of things he's doing, you know, and I just think that it's not okay. And other people that, if other people were caught up in these kind of incidents, I do agree with you, like it wouldn't be seen as more serious maybe.
But you like your sports people kind of pure, don't you?
Like well, do you not?
I don't know. Like, I mean,
somebody with 20 previous convictions, though. Come on, like,
no,
you know.
I'm not defending him, but
yeah,
like you would like your sports hero, like you're watching the Olympics, you really, and you like there's something about those their effort and their maybe even their amateur sort of nature, and something about that would really appeal to you.
Well, I like them because they don't go around insulting people in pubs or like going off in their convertible, zooming down the M50, and then like, you know, thinking that they don't have to get out of the car because they're waiting for their security, you know. So I don't think it's that I don't know if you would say that it's because these people are pure, but these people are obviously, you know, up there just for their talents alone. Whereas McGregor it's all this character and it's all this pantomime around him.
Yeah.
You know, and like, of course, like I've met him years ago at an event before he became really famous, and he was a very nice guy. Yeah. You know, posed with everybody, and I've heard that he's a very generous guy and all of these things. Yeah. But at the same time, like, you know, things have spiraled out of control, and I just think that I don't think I'd be the only person with that opinion either. And like, you know, his sporting success is, you know, he's obviously achieved a lot in that arena, and maybe I don't understand UFC the way other people would, but I also just think that, and everybody makes mistakes, but like, come on, like this is, some of his behavior is just is mental, and, you know, maybe there should be more of the stage given to people like Daniel Whiffen, and, you know, who aren't making headlines other than for their amazing talents. You know, if he wants to make headlines for, you know, other things that are illegal, he should be called out on it, and why wouldn't he be, you know?
Exactly. And of course that's true. Like we you know, we should call him out in it. Yeah. And of course you are right as well. Like he can be very generous. You will see that and hear from people who, you know, he'll see something on social media and donate to a good cause. Absolutely. And there's no doubt that he's bringing employment and all of those things. But he's a kind of a unique modern celebrity, I suppose, in that back in the day when I first started working in journalism, like celebrities would go to almost any length to avoid any sort of whiff of some of this stuff. But he embraces it.
Yeah, I think you like that. I think you like because he's interested. You like it's the thing about he's interested, and people enjoy a bit of the crazy, and you know, he is an interesting character. There's no doubt about that. But I just think the way he behaves sometimes, I'm a very proud Irish person, and I don't like the way he's associated. Like, you know, he's obviously done a lot of things for Ireland in terms of his sporting success, and he is a businessman. Has, as they said in court today, has obviously employed a lot of people, and has donated to a lot of causes. But you know, some of his behaviour, it's just... Yeah,
and it's deeply ironic to see him commenting on crime in Ireland.
Yeah.
And you know, whatever spin he puts on it in relation to other matters. We're not going to get into that now. But I suppose the thing about Conor McGregor is whatever about some of the speeding offences, or even a sort of slightly ridiculous event where he's attacking a bus, to see, when you see the footage of a guy being punched in a pub having done nothing, it's certainly not endearing.
No, absolutely not. No.
Okay, well, I I always end by saying, well, we'll come back to this case again. And I'd like to say we'll never have another Conor McGregor discussion on Crime World again, but I'm not 100% sure.
No, we might have to discuss I'll probably have plenty of critics now after defending Conor McGregor, so we might need to come back and discuss that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Eimear.
Thanks, Niall.
I'm Nicola Tallant and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.